Welcome to an episode of Habs Tonight, and this is going to be a very different episode as we haven't been as active around the playoffs, but we are going to go full hardcore today because we have a lot to talk about. Habs news, playoffs, world championships, and you guys are really going to like this one. And first of all, we're going to start off with the West, and with me today is Marco and Adrian. How are you guys doing today?
We're good. Can't complain.
Yeah, doing great. Yeah, happy to be on, talk about some playoff hockey. I mean, sucks that the Habs aren't in it, but we did get the first overall pick. As you guys all know, we were there last week or a couple of weeks ago. Whoever catch the stream, thank you guys. We love the support. But yeah, now we're here to get into everything else going on around the league. Should be a fun show. We got a lot to talk about, like you said, Damen. First round summary, second round predictions, and Habs news, like we said. So I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah. So first of all, this is going to be the first matchup we're going to talk about. This was what we call the cakewalk, or just the stomping. Colorado versus Nashville. There's no nicer way to put it. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's the way I put it, the cakewalk for Colorado.
Yeah, it was just I think we were saying in the group chat before, like I think in the middle of the second period of game one, it was like 4-5-0, might have been more. And I think I was like, guys, the series is already over. And I knew right away there was just no going back for Nashville. I mean, they didn't have a bad season. Duchesne had a comeback season. But, I mean, man, Colorado is just like unbelievably stacked. They're definitely going to be a favorite for the Cup for sure.
Yeah, you said it. I think Nashville really did have a good showing this year. There was a lot of players like Duchesne that you had mentioned who had really shown some promise, which is really good to see. And obviously Roman Josi too, having a Norris caliber season. I mean, it's unbelievable what he did for Edmonton this year. Yusei Saro too, also nominated for the Vezina. So obviously they had pretty good run. It was very unfortunate what happened with Cyrus at the end. He got injured right before the series. And obviously it's very hard, even if you don't have your number one. We'll get into it later, but I don't know how Carolina did it without Anderson. I predicted that series to go far, but no, I mean, I had originally given this series 5 games, I think, but then Saros got hurt, and I don't know. I think Colorado, they're just way too OP this year. I have them in my bracket going to the finals, so I really do think they have all the pieces, and the new additions that they got, like our very own Artturi Lehkonen, has been showing promise for them. Very nice depth piece who could provide some good offensive potential. And yeah, Colorado's going to be one to look out for sure. I think that series against St. Louis is going to be one to watch, but I still have Colorado going forward, and I think they're going to make a very deep run.
Yeah, one thing I want to touch on also quickly about the Colorado matchup, and especially our very own Artturi Lehkonen. We're going to miss you, Lucky, and Nick especially is going to miss you even more.
We love you,
the one thing that Lehkonen did really well in this series, he's always noticeable on the ice every moment of play, and he had quite a bit of goals, and he always did everything that Jared Bednar and the Avalanche needed him to do, and he, in my opinion, was one of the dark horses for the Avalanche, and I think he'll continue to be a dark horse for the Avalanche on this Cup run.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been playing really good. Like Colorado's been pretty unbelievable. I mean, the only thing I was questioning about Colorado too, I don't know if you guys want to go into it, but was like their goaltending was a little bit of a question for, I mean, the whole season, right? But I mean, the scoring, and they got like Kadri's usually he's been playing good the last couple of years, and especially in the playoffs. And McKinnon's obviously doing his thing, and but yeah, they're definitely reckoned to be. They're just a big reckon. That made sense.
Yeah. No first round suspension for Nazem Kadri this year. We were having our bets on it in the group chat, but no, I think Colorado's had pretty good goaltending this season. I think Kemper's really shown his potential, and I think that move getting him from Arizona is really paying off for them. And we'll really see how deep they could go with him in the playoffs. He's an upcoming UFA, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of teams may go for him in the summer. I know, according to Elliot Friedman, Toronto are most likely gonna part ways with Jack Campbell. So
Ooh.
maybe that might be possibility for next year. I think Kemper to Toronto could be a very, very big move going into the offseason, but we'll see. But no, Colorado is just an absolute wagon, and no, I have them going to the finals. Like I said, they're just stacked. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah, even without Kemper, once he sustained the ice injury, Pavel Francouz did a great job of stepping in there. And even in the past, we all remember that series against Dallas in the bubble, when Grubauer and Francouz both got injured. This is going to haunt Leaf fans again. At this stat, I'm sorry to haunt you guys even more than you already have. Michael
Not really.
Hutchinson, who you guys have traded that season, had more wins in the bubble than Frederik Andersen and Jack Campbell did combined. So there's that.
Yikes.
No bueno.
That's a no bueno, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is with like the former Leaf players. They always like do better on other teams. I don't know what you guys think about that, but
maybe it's just a big like a voodoo vex on the whole city of Toronto that we don't know about. I mean, it would definitely explain their playoff experiences as of late. So if you told me that the whole city was cursed when it comes to hockey, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't debate that against you.
I saw somebody suggest maybe they should change the name of their team and they won't be cursed anymore. So maybe that's
maybe
not a bad idea. Maybe
let Justin Bieber take over, do like a whole like Drew rebranding, just the entire like the Toronto Drews or something of that nature.
The Toronto Drew Leafs.
The Drew Leafs. Maple Drews.
Toronto Leafs. Hopefully the maple like the curse out of it, or the Toronto Maple or something. Just imagine all the funny names people will come up with, and it's just gonna be funny to see. Or even if they got a second team, will people just hop over to that second team just to decide, you know what, I can't take any more of this Leafs pain. I'll cheer for another Toronto-based team.
Yeah, that's the yearly tradition though. Usually it's the Leafs, and then when the Leafs are done, the Blue Jays are next, and then when the Blue Jays are done, it's the Leafs, and it's the same cycle every year.
I like this comment that we have over here. Maybe they're cursed because of the Matthews stash. I don't know. Maybe they'll play better if he shaves it off. Austin Matthews, if you're listening, get it off. We'll see. We'll experiment for next year. We'll see how things go. Maybe Toronto could bring some magic next year.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I'll just say this: one of my I went to hometown hockey, and one of my friends actually grew out the Matthews stash in his Matthews jersey, and a certain hockey legend, who I'll tell you guys the name of off air, was creeped out by the stash, and it was really funny just to see how creeped out the hockey legend was. He's like, "Are you trying to literally become Austin Matthews?" And said some other stuff that will not be said in there.
Not many people could pull off the stash. I'm telling you, Austin Matthews is just an absolute style icon, but not many people could pull off a stash like he can. Anyways, we do have more series to get into. We do have one that wasn't so much of as much of a stomping as the Avalanche series, but one that was still pretty dominant towards one side. We have the Minnesota St. Louis one. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. I personally had Minnesota in this series. I thought that they had a great season. They had a lot of depth too, and then getting Fleury in the offseason too, that Fleury Talbot sort of tandem, I thought would really come in handy for the playoffs and was exactly what they needed to make a deep push. But I guess St. Louis just showed that they were the better playoff team. I mean, they do have experience. They did win the cup not too long ago, so maybe I shouldn't have been as surprised as I was, but I don't know. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, it was a really fun series. I didn't get to watch it, but because I didn't, of course, catch those channels. But seeing the highlights and just seeing everything that went on that series was pretty insane. Especially a goal per game, Kirill. That was amazing. And I can tell you this: I understand why that dead cap is going to be there for so many years from Suter and Parise's contracts, just to keep this guy in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And he was a stud for the Minnesota Wild. And the Minnesota Wild fans, they should be proud of what they did here. Unfortunately, it wasn't the result they wanted. I personally had the Blues in 7 here because for me, I felt that this was the most definition of playoff series. That was going to be really close. The games, in my opinion, were about 3 goals, and that series was a really fun one to watch with the highlights of. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the future holds for both of these teams. St. Louis do have a lot of veterans, and they do have a lot of good up-and-comers, just Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas. And I can't wait to see those two do in the future. And there's still question marks whether Ville Husso and Jordan Binnington, which one takes over the reins of starting, or if one of the two has to depart. But it's going to be a really fun thing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna kind of go off what Marco said too. I was surprised that Minnesota was the team that got bounced. Like I didn't really get much of a chance to watch the series. I watched like highlights here and there. But yeah, like Minnesota had an outstanding regular season. They got Fleury at the deadline and they made some moves at the deadline to get them ready for the playoffs. And I thought they were going to make a bit more of a push, but I mean the Blues are still good. Like they won the cup in 2019, and a lot of those guys are still there with that playoff experience. And again, lots of veterans too. And they've added quite a few the last couple of years. I know they got Krug the other year to replace Pietrangelo. And the Blues are still a good team, and yeah, that's going to be an interesting goalie controversy in the future for sure.
Yeah, so we're gonna move on to our next series, which is actually one of the most entertaining series in my opinion. I think both fan bases should be proud of this series: the Edmonton Oilers versus the Los Angeles Kings. And for the series, I'm sure we know LA's coming out of sort of on the verge of coming out of their rebuild at this moment. But I felt they made a playoffs a year too early because we, of course, know what happened with Vegas there. I don't know if we want to get into it very much, but they put all their eggs in the basket of trying to pull off the LTIR Kucherov move and blew up in their face, to put it nicely. So LA, of course, made it in, and LA should be proud because they gave the Edmonton Oilers a very hard time. But the Edmonton Oilers, in the end, their scoring just couldn't be stopped. And first of all, we have to talk about the one guy right here, Connor McJesus. 14
The man
points
himself.
in 7 games.
That's godly behavior from McDavid. I mean, that just proves that he's the best in the NHL. That's absolutely unreal. And I mean, thank God the Edmonton Oilers have him, because the Kings, honestly, they, like you said, it was a very close series right until the end. And honestly, they really surprised me in a good way, because, I mean, keep in mind, too, they didn't have Drew Doughty the entire series, their top guy. And I mean, kind of like one of the better defensemen of our era in recent years. So the fact that they went this far without him, I mean, the Oilers really needed McDavid's heroics. And that series against Calgary now, Battle of Alberta, it's going to be a barn burner for sure. I know McDavid, he's going to have to go off if they want to give him a chance. We'll get into the Calgary series later, but they're still a tough team, even though Dallas really kept it close with them. But yeah, I mean, so far, I think the Evander Kane sort of, the signing has paid off for them, their offensive depth. But I think that this series coming up will really test whether or not they're built for a deep playoff run. I mean, you still got defense and you still got goaltending sort of concerns in the back there. I mean, Mike Smith is 40 and he's not really built as a 20-year-old. I mean, he's a little bit more fragile, as you would expect from a 40-year-old, and Koskinen's not a reliable backup at all. So we're going to have to see. I think Mike Smith's going to have to stand on his head in this series if they have a chance against Calgary, because even though it was close in that Dallas series, we all know it was Andre who was keeping them in it, and Calgary was just pummeling them with shots for several games. So they're going to need Sharp for sure if they got a chance against the Big Flames.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised. I didn't realize the Kings were that good of a team. Like Damen said, their rebuilds, I guess, ended pretty quick. Usually, maybe a year or two shorter than maybe it could have. But they, again, full credit to them for playing a hard series. No Drew Doughty. It would have been electric. It was an electric series, don't get me wrong, but it would have been on a fever pitch if he was in it, because he's not very liked in Western Canada. So with the whole Flames and stuff and all that. So it was still a great series. I watched Game 5 last week, and man, it was just back and forth. It was just great hockey. And the Oilers, I gotta say, I've doubted them a lot with their goaltending situation at times this year, and they've really just pulled it together. And again, McDavid with 14 points in 7 games, like that's like in the first round. Just unbelievable work by him and Draisaitl. And they're not a bad team. The defense is not bad, but the goaltending has always been a question for Edmonton. Mike Smith had a couple of moments he could have maybe stopped a couple of goals that shouldn't have went in that game 5 I was watching, but at the same time, I think he played pretty well in game 7. And yeah, it's good to see a Calgary Edmonton playoff series. I was praying for that before the playoffs started, and then I was so happy when Calgary won the other day just to see that, because that's just cool. It's just gonna be a yard sale every game. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think the only bad thing about having the Battle of Alberta, despite the absolute immense amount of entertainment that's going to bring to all hockey fans alike, is the fact that we will see a Canadian team get eliminated from the playoffs. And I mean, it's been a real long time, guys. It's been since 1993. We got to have the Cup back in Canada. So, I mean, the Leafs couldn't do it. Surprising, not surprising. Everyone's got their takes on that. But we'll really see whoever that winner of the series. I think all Canada is going to be behind them, and all Canada is going to be watching that one too. It's going to be a barn burner for sure. One thing I forgot to mention too is that I think we have to acknowledge Dustin Brown's retirement as well. As we know, he played his last games with the Kings, and obviously he had a phenomenal career, winning multiple cups with them. So yeah, just quick little acknowledgement for Brown's career. And sucks that they couldn't have a deeper run in this year's playoffs, but I don't think he'll be disappointed with his career in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I really liked what Dustin Brown brought to the Kings, and definitely I grew up watching him, and it's definitely going to be sad to see him go. But in his career, he definitely had a very storied career. Of course, it's like Marco said, 2 cups, but he definitely was very good captain, and he left on and off the ice. And even though he lost his captaincy towards the end of his career and he went to Kopitar, but he's always been that leader, and he'll never be forgotten for what he did for the Kings and also the hockey world.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember 10 years ago when they were about to win their first cup. Well, before that playoff run, they were actually going to trade him at the deadline, the Kings, and he scored a hat trick in the game after. And so they ended up keeping him and said, nope, we're keeping him. And obviously, like, to add to your guys' comments, great captain on and off the ice. Again, 2 cups, and just he's done it all. So I gotta tip your hat to him, because guy had a hell of a career. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, for sure. No, definitely a happy retirement to him, though. He's had a very respectable career. So yeah.
Now, moving on, we're going to move on to our next series right here, which is one of the most entertaining. And we got a lot more than I thought we would out of this series. Calgary versus Dallas. And the first talking point for this one I want to talk to you boys about is Jake Ottinger. This guy introduced himself to the hockey world in quite the way.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I was big on this guy a little bit towards the mid and near the end of the season, where he got his chance to show, because obviously coming from the U.S. national development team, only 23 years old, this guy for Dallas has really given them, well, he's part of the reason why they made the playoffs. This guy's been solid throughout the season, and I'm just glad now that he has the spotlight that he deserves. His play against Calgary was absolutely outstanding. He is the reason why Dallas were in it for 7 games in that series. And I don't know what exactly the shots were in game 7, like 6-2 or something crazy like that. And I think that at the end of that game, he had the highest save percentage in game 7 in NHL history. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but
It was the highest.
Jake Ottinger's performance was just unreal. And yeah, I mean, you see too Markstrom giving credit where credit is due at the end, telling him, you're the future of the league. I think he's got a point over there. And yeah, we all know it was a tight race for the playoffs with Dallas, Vegas, and all that for a while. Sucks they couldn't advance a little further, but yeah, I'm with you there, Damen. I was a little surprised how far the series really went. I think I gave him maybe 5 or 6 games, just because of how dominant Calgary's been all year. I mean, they have 3 different 40-goal scorers, which is rare enough. I mean, that team is a wagon. They got depth in every single position, offensively, defensively, even goaltending wise. So I mean, I was surprised, I guess, that Dallas made it that far against a team like that. And they almost, I mean, it came down to game 7 overtime. That could be a 50-50 depending on how things turn out. So yeah, it's crazy to think that Calgary almost got eliminated to them. But yeah, for sure, I'm sure the entire team bought rounds for Jake Ottinger after that series. That man, he deserves it, and the future is looking real bright for him.
Yeah, he honestly, I didn't know who Jake Ottinger was until like last month, to be honest with you, because I haven't watched much of Western Conference this year. But yeah, man, he like I honestly thought it was gonna probably go to 5 or 6 games, but he pushed it to 7. Just all series long, it was just wasn't really a lot of high scoring games in that series. Because again, the goaltending on both sides was just absolutely tremendous, and you love to see that from any playoff series, right? He with I mean, Game 7, he had like 64 saves or something like that, something insane like that, and he kind of looks like Yaroslav Halak back in 2010. To be
Oh
honest with
boy.
you, yeah.
The
Memories.
nostalgia on that is unreal. Oh my God. Don't even get me started, Adrian.
Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, we won't go into that rabbit hole, but yeah, man. I was, yeah. I wanted Calgary to win the series. I've always liked Calgary as like a second team when like the Habs are not in the playoffs or they get eliminated or whatnot. So, yeah, man. I want to see Calgary go far. A lot of their best players showed up in that series. Obviously, Goodrow came clutch in Game 7, and you got Elias Lindholm and even Andrew Mangiapane. He had a great series too, and he's that's right.
Bread man. Eat
We
bread,
got to bring it
everyone.
back to the
Eat bread.
got to bring
Eat
it back to
bread.
the motherland on that one.
That's right.
Mangiapane.
He's my favorite. He's like maybe by default might be my favorite player on the team just for his last name. So that's amazing though. But yeah,
He's from
great
where
series
you're from
though.
too, eh?
Is he he's from Brampton or is he from Toronto? Like just Toronto area.
Is he? I could be mistaken. I thought
I know
you said he was
Monahan.
from-
Monahan's a
Okay.
Brampton boy, so
I'm
yeah.
probably just confusing with Monahan.
No, that's okay.
Disregard what I said.
No, that's okay. I mean, he's still from the GTA here, so that's still pretty good. So
Good for
hopefully-
Canada, yeah.
yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely.
Now we're gonna move on to the Eastern Conference, and this is truly the series that we're probably going to talk about the most, and it'll never stop being talked about for probably forever, or until the end of time or something. But Tampa Bay Toronto, this was a close series, very tight series, tighter than I expected. Nick Paul powers through for Game 7, and we have to answer this question. I can imagine Steve Dangle screaming this in my head. What happens now? Leafs blow it again, become the laughing stock of the NHL, and now, Tampa has actually been given a harder time than they expected. So, what are they going to do against Florida? But first of all, we have to talk about the series itself, how close and tight it was.
Oh my God. I mean, I think I saw something where it was like that was the most watched playoff series I think in NHL history or something like that, just because of how much anticipation there was towards it. Obviously, all the Leafs Nation thinking that this is going to be their year, like every year, but and then you have Tampa trying to go back to back to back. So obviously, a huge amount of talent. And I mean, you got to give credit to Toronto. I mean, they're a stacked team. They brought it till the end, but I think we all had that little voice in our head saying that they're gonna blow it. They're gonna blow it. You know, it's just what Toronto does. Unfortunately, I think they're 0-10 now when it comes to elimination games. I saw another crazy stat where I think they're the only team in NHL, NBA, and MLB history to lose 5 years in a row in the first round in an elimination series. Honestly, they're making all the headlines and all the history, but in the worst ways imaginable. And I don't know where they go from here, because obviously it's not a player issue. I mean, their lineup is outstanding. Like maybe they could use a little bit more defensive depth, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether you look at the coaching now or just the management, but something needs to change in Toronto, because there's no excuse why a team as talented as that, with that much promise, just can't get it done when it matters the most. And now there's a bunch of question marks. I know we said that Elliot Freeman saying that Jack Campbell not likely to return next season. Now you got a goaltending issue. What are you going to do with that? I mean, if you're a Toronto fan right now, I think you're shaking. You got a lot to worry about. There's a lot of questions up in the air, and there's not a lot of answers. So, yeah, I really don't know what they do from here. It's good. I guess it's gonna be an eventful offseason for sure for the Leafs. We'll see what changes will come, but I think it's a good moment to flex being a Habs fan. I mean, the Leafs got 7 extra games, and we got the first overall pick. So you could balance the trade out how you'd like, but I think it's good W for Habs Nation, and I'm happy to see Tampa win despite losing to him in the finals last year. I don't know what it is. I mean, there's a bunch of people I know saying like, oh, I don't know how you could go for Tampa. I mean, you got to go for the Canadian team, and I get that. And I was saying before how we need a Canadian team to win the cup, but anybody but Toronto. Okay, I don't know what it is. I think it just got way too much Habs pride. I will never go for Toronto, even if they make the Stanley Cup Finals and they're against American team. I just don't know what it is. But now I guess I'm happy with the way things played out. They're eliminated and we got 2 Canadian teams still left in it. So yeah, I guess it worked out in the end. But yeah, what do you think about everything, Adrian? What's new for Toronto? Let's dive into it.
I mean, personally, I thought they had the series after Game 6. And again, usually I like to crap on the Leafs a lot and crap on their party, but they played a really good series. I got to give credit where it's due. They played a good hard series. Again, Tampa's a tough team. I don't know what the problem is. Like, they have a great team on paper. Like, every year, they're an amazing regular season team. They're just not built for the long run of the longevity of the season. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Like, they got to make changes, and I saw some clips from the press conference today. They're like post season, locker room cleanout day, I guess they call it. And like, their management just seems like they said they're not making any major changes. It's like there's nothing wrong, but I mean, you've lost in the first round 5 years in a row. I mean, three to four of those years you were, a cup contender. Well, it's supposed to be. And they just don't want to fix anything. I think they need to make a trade, maybe to help their blue line, do something. But it's tough, man. I remember I was even listening to Steven Stamkos' comments after the Game 7, and he made a good point. And, he said how, you got to go through the failure eventually to get the success. Basically, that's what he said. And, for all those years, Tampa was kind of known as like the perennial chokers as well, right? So, and then they won their back-to-back cups. And, you kind of maybe every year they learn more about each other as a team and as teammates and players and all that. And maybe they get better every year, but there just seems like there's no like end in sight for this kind of like mediocrity. And I think they should do something, but seems like they're just going to keep it as it is. And again, if they lose Jack Campbell, like you're saying, it's looking like he's not going to be back. That's going to be a big hole that they got to fill. And apparently they lowballed him like something under like $3 million AAV. So that's obviously not going to be it's way too low for how good he's been playing the last couple of seasons. Right. So that's almost insulting. So
very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good thing. I like what Steven Stamkos said, and I did agree with him because Tampa Bay did unfortunately have to lose a lot before they knew how to win. I remember that was said in the song, sometimes you got to lose before you know how to win. I don't remember which song that was, but that's the truth. But just that, thank God Nikita Kucherov wasn't the one who did that press conference. Probably would have said, I didn't want to go back to Toronto after Game 5. They act like they won the Stanley Cup.
I think I saw Jesse Pollock. He posted that exact thing. It was himself, shirtless, dressed up as Kucherov with the beer and all that. Exactly what you just said, Damen. It's
that was funny what Jesse Pollock did, but that just triggered like that thing in my mind. Yeah, just what if I don't even know if Tampa Bay will let him do PR ever since what happened there.
Probably not.
Yeah, but we have to talk about this comment right here because I did watch some of the games, and we have to go back to this rabbit hole, the reffing, a bit.
Oh God!
I just want your opinions because when I was watching Game 6, and this is when I thought the Leafs might have the game in the bag because it's the Leafs. You never know if they do or don't have the game in the bag. I thought, you know what, if they kill off this penalty, they do. The David Kampf high sticking, I thought, you know what, okay, this might not be the proper high sticking. Even Sportsnet called it out. And I want your opinions, if that's okay, about the officiating, because I personally felt that there was some inconsistencies on both sides, but I felt a lot of it came in the key moments against Leafs, as I'm sure we know John Tavares' disallowed goal and Justin Hall sort of setting the basketball type pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough. I mean, obviously there's a lot of inconsistency when it comes to reffing. We've talked about it so many times on this show, and obviously we're not going to sugarcoat it. There was calls that could have gone on both ends that maybe should have been called, shouldn't have been called. I know them one of the players, I forgot who it was, but he was literally holding Matthews for a good 10, 15 seconds, and there was nothing that got called there. I mean, that's clearly a penalty. And I get it in the playoffs. When you get to it, the officiating, they start to be a little bit more loose because like it's playoff hockey. They don't want to ruin the game with endless penalties. But I mean, when you have obvious sort of instances like that, obviously you got to call it or else it's a bad look for the game. I mean, don't get me wrong. The officiating has really proven itself to be a very bad look on the league, which unfortunately is the case because there, like you said, I mean, there's no consistency whatsoever when it comes to NHL officiating. I've said it before. I think it's the worst officiating in all sports, and they just continue to keep proving my points. So I don't know. Something's got to change there. We were talking about all the changes in Toronto. If you got to get somebody up in there in the whole reffing department in the NHL, something's got to change. I don't know if you need more meetings with teams to go over all the mistakes, but they just don't want to. The NHL doesn't want to admit that they're wrong in most cases, and they think that the system works, but clearly it doesn't. I don't know. What do you think about everything, Adrian?
I mean, to be honest, like I was talking to a bunch of Leaf fans, friends of mine, and I could see why they were upset. There was a lot of missed calls, like again, but it was on both sides. But the problem is like we've been saying it all season long. Like there's just no consistency league wide. Like, and I talked about this with countless people. Like, it's just every ref is different, right? Like, I think there should just be one code of conduct league wide, not one ref that calls this, but another ref doesn't call that, and then it causes all this controversy, right? So I think they should all just go under one code of conduct and call it the right way. I understand in the playoffs though, you want to put the whistles away, and again, you don't want one call to like decide a game essentially, right? But like it's just I just don't understand like the officiating this year in the NHL is probably the worst I've ever seen in like the 15 16 years I've been a hockey fan. Like it's just like gradually gets worse every year, but this year was so noticeably terrible. I don't know about you guys if you noted, like I mean maybe everyone saw it, but like it was just like wow, like not just in Habs games, just other ones. I'm like, wow, that's terrible. You just see the stuff all over social media, but it's really bad, and there needs to be changes in it. But the NHL seems to think that, like Marco said, seems to think the system, like the NHL seems to think the system's okay, which I disagree. But they should. I think even Dale said back, like maybe a year or so back. But I think the refs should be able to face the media when they make a mistake, like in a game, just like how a player has to face the media with they cause a brutal turnover that cost them the game or cost them the goal. They gotta face the smoke after the game, right? So why can't the refs have the same treatment?
I agree. I'd love to see them face the media, and I think the thing is if they face the media, they could explain more of what's going on, and I feel that it would, as us fans, it would show us some more accountability, and accountability is being held by these referees for the calls they're taking. For example, we all remember what happened with Chris Lee last year. He pretty much gifted Vegas that Game 4 win. Like if he met with the media that night and he would have given us different angles, we all know it would have been BS for the most part, because if he was to somehow find an explanation for not calling Braden McNabb's punch on Nick Suzuki to the literal face, I just think that would have more accountability held, and more referees would own up to their mistakes instead of just going home and then just collecting their next paycheck from officiating that game. But I definitely think that would be a big key if they just face the media. And one thing I would just love to see is if someone brings this up to Gary Bettman in a Stanley Cup media finals press conference and see what he says to that idea.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, I think if you don't have the press conferences, because I mean, I feel like if you do have them, they could be a little bit dry because all the refs are going to be like, oh, I saw this. That's why I called this. It's not, I feel like they're not really going to explain themselves as much as they would, because like it's the media, like they're not like obligated, you know what I mean? But I think that they should pull kind of like a minor or amateur soccer reffing sort of thing where, let's say, well, I know because I was a referee for soccer for a little bit. But every time a red card or yellow card, well, every time a card was issued, you'd have to report to the Reffing Association, explaining yourself in detail why it was the case and why you made the call and all that. I feel like if the refs were sort of obligated to do a similar sort of reporting for the NHL officiating department or whatever it is, explaining like let's say really controversial calls, explaining their take on it and having that in writing, and then whatever, they can make that public if they choose. They could show it to the media, they could show it to or display it on the socials, but at least that way you'll be forced to sort of explain your reasoning behind everything and you have it in writing in detail. So I think that would be the solution, I guess, if I had to put a marker on it. But I mean, knowing us, the NHL officiating department's not listening to Habs tonight right now. They probably going to keep the system going for as long as they can until they have they see a rapid decline in viewership because of how brutal it's been over the years. And I'm with you, Adrian, on this one. I think that this year has been by far the worst that I've ever seen in recent memory. It's just, I feel like every couple of shows or so we're talking about controversial calls and just how brutal everything is and how inconsistent it is. But yeah, to make a very long story short, something's got to change, and hopefully we see that soon.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. That's all. That's all. It's pretty full context there.
Yeah. The next series I want to touch on with you guys is, of course, the Florida Panthers versus Washington Capitals. A couple of former Habs in this series. I'm sure we know Ben Sherrod, and this name brings back good old memories from his spinorama and the shootout Lars Eller. We got to talk about this one. I was actually talking to my program coordinator, and he told me he didn't expect the Florida Panthers to win. And I actually got this one surprisingly fully right. I had the Panthers in 6, and they played really well, but the Capitals gave them a hard time in close games. And one player I really want to touch on with you guys is Carter Verhaeghe. He was, of course, a member of Tampa Bay Lightning's fourth line in that 2020 playoff run in the bubble. And now he's making himself a name for himself as a clutch player in key pressure situations, and especially with that overtime winner in Game 6, assisted by Habs, former Habs legend, and I still consider him a Habs legend because of everything he did for us in 2020 and 2021, Ben Sherrod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that series, I don't know, I think Washington put up a good fight. I was like pleasantly surprised when I saw a few of the games. I thought that Florida would kind of not steamroll, but I feel like they would have asserted their dominance in that series, and it's just because they were the highest scoring team in the NHL this season, and offensively and defensively, they're just an absolute wagon like a lot of our teams. But Florida especially, they're up there for the whole year. The only thing about them that I'm not completely sold on is goaltending. I know Bobrovsky is good, but he doesn't face a whole lot of shots because of how good his team is, but he does let in a few ones that maybe he could have. So I think that going forward, we'll see how built he really is for a deep playoff run. We know that Florida is not really, they have no recent memory in like very deep playoff runs. So I think maybe this year, if they're going to make one, I think this year will be their year. I think they have a very good group. And we'll see. I think the Battle of Florida too, another state/province matchup. That's going to be an exciting one to watch for sure. I know that's one's going to be close against Tampa, and I think the games are going on right now as we speak. So got no idea what's going on there, but we'll going to be a close one for sure, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy Florida won. I was kind of rooting for them in that series to go forward. I was a little concerned with them because they were playing a lot of like come from behind hockey, like like making 2-3 goal comebacks and winning games. I mean, they've been kind of doing that all year long. A lot of their games were like won in overtime and shootouts. I mean, they can't be doing that against Tampa all series long, to be honest. Like they can't be trailing 2-3 goals because Tampa is just going to trap them every time. So goaltending, yes, I agree with what Marco said. Goaltending was a little bit of a concern, but Bobrovsky's kind of had his ups and downs in Florida since he signed there. But I mean, again, their offense and even their defense too, like their top 4 on D is really good. And obviously Ben Sherrod's there now, and Mackenzie Weegar's really good. Ekblad, they just have really good. They have a really well-built team. Obviously, their offense is just unreal. you got like Sasha Barkov getting like over 100 points a year, and Huberdeau as well. But the thing is, they can't be. Sorry, I'm just looking at the comment there. But yeah,
soon, hopefully.
Dude, that'd be awesome. He probably doesn't know a thing about hockey, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, man. So I think the Panthers could beat Tampa, but again, they can't be doing that, playing from behind like that. It's just not going to work. The deeper you get into the playoffs, especially if they're going to make the finals, they're going to face a team like Colorado or Calgary, and it's just not going to work like that. So I hope they play better, which you never know.
Yeah. For the next matchup we had to talk about, of course, Carolina versus the Boston Bruins are arch rivals, and we have rivalries with both these teams. I'll say we have the one trolling rivalry by Carolina. They love trolling us. They never gave a video tribute to Guy Lafleur even and acknowledged it. Then we have Boston, who's our on ice historic rivalry. I want to know what you guys thought of that matchup, and I can tell you this: I predicted Carolina to win in 7, and I was right about that. But I was cheering for Carolina because, of course, KK and Domes were on Carolina. I want to know, what did you guys think of this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had Boston in 7 just because when you look at both of those teams, I think that Boston is the team with more playoff experience. You know, them two, they won a cup in 2011 or 2010. I think it was
2011, yeah.
2011, okay, yeah. So, and they also have a good group, and obviously they got Hampus Lindholm, for this playoff run, and I thought that was, I mean, obviously it was good. You know, the top 3 that you would expect from Boston were great in this series as well, but I don't know, like, especially considering the fact, because we knew that Freddie Anderson wasn't gonna, he wasn't going to play in the series, and it was going to be Antti Raanta who would have to carry the load on his shoulders. And then we saw the third goalie even come in too, which was absolutely crazy to see. But Carolina still managed to pull it off. So maybe I underestimated them a little bit, but I think they got a good group. I think that now it's going to be a good series going forward against the Rangers. And I don't know. Yeah, it's good to see Domi too. I think he had a very good series for Carolina. He's been showing some promise, but yeah, I don't know. I had Boston in 7 originally, but at least I went to 7 games, so at least I could say I was somewhat right on that. But yeah, I got to give credit to Carolina. They pleasantly surprised me too, and I don't know what their goaltending situation is going to be like. I don't know what Anderson's health is looking like, but if they got to lean on Raanta going against the Rangers, I don't know, it might be a little bit more tough than going against the Bruins. I think they do have a better team than them, but I guess we'll see. It's gonna be a fun one to watch. That's for sure, though.
Yeah, I might take some heat for this, but I was actually going for Boston in that series because I do not like Carolina at all. Because
Damon's reaction. Excuse me.
I know that's a hot. I guess a hot take, but
that's okay. We love hot takes here.
Yeah, we don't like Carolina either, so we don't completely blame you there.
They just bug me, like everything about them. But anyways, again, great series overall too. I watched a bit of the games, and Boston, I don't know, Carolina's a really good team. I didn't think they were going to be really as good as they have been the last couple of years because they lost goaltender in the offseason and Dougie Hamilton left. But man, this team is still really solid, all around built. And Anderson got hurt, and Antti Raanta came in and just stole the show. Again, I got to give credit where it's due, right? They're a great team. I'm also happy. Again, I was rooting against them, but I'm happy for KK and Domes. I love Max Domi, and he was my favorite player in Montreal for a while. So, guy wears his heart on his sleeve. So, seeing him rip it up in Game 7 was pretty cool. Got those 2 big goals for them. So, yeah, I mean, against the Rangers, they're definitely going to have their work cut out for them. Also, what I found kind of funny was I think Game 2 there was the Brad Marchand and Tony DeAngelo rivalry going on.
Oh yeah,
the 2 most hated players in the league. So I was like, this is going to be fun. And then Game 3 came, and Marchand scored the empty netter, and DeAngelo threw his stick in his direction while he was shooting.
Yeah, I saw that.
This is awesome. Yeah. This is what we need. So yeah, it was a good series though. All in all, both teams played pretty well. Again, Carolina's Carolina's proved me wrong all year this year. And man, I gotta say, gotta give credit where it's due.
Yeah, I just got to say this. I agree with Marchand with what he said to D'Angelo. That was really funny. And of all the people to say it, it was Marchand. That was a rare Marchand W, we could say.
Exactly.
Rare Marchand W.
Yeah, I mean, he called him out for, and I think that was absolutely hilarious too, because D'Angelo, he talks a lot of shit when he's on the ice, and then just to see him so frustrated throwing his stick at Marshall, like you said, Adrian, I watched that game. That was absolutely hilarious to see. That was just the dagger in the D'Angelo coffin. And speaking of him, actually, he's going to be facing his former team, the Rangers, in the upcoming series. So we'll see. I think we're going to see a very angry D'Angelo, a little bit of a bulldog there, or a pit bull, I should say. But I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch. It's never a dull moment with Tony D'Angelo, that's for sure. He's the only paisano I can't get behind in the league.
Yeah, he's been like, I didn't know like really what he did for the longest time. Like I didn't really know much about him until maybe two years ago. And like, yeah, he's just been like a really bad teammate in the past, and just one thing after the other with him. And yeah, I can't get behind that because he's not very likable as some people would think.
No, hell of a hockey player though, and that's what he gets paid to do. So obviously we give him credit for that. Human being wise, not so the best, but we're not here to judge people. So I think we got one more series in the East to talk about, and this one was a very, very fast paced, very interesting one. It went down to the wire to Game 7 overtime. We had the Pens against the Rangers, obviously, and I think this up there with Tampa Bay and Toronto, I think is probably my second favorite series. And obviously both of these teams, they were big powerhouses. I think both the Pens and both the Rangers. And I don't know if you guys saw in the Game 7 when Gensel's goal, when he kicked it up to himself and then batted in midair. That was honestly that's unbelievable skill. I don't think I've ever seen anything remotely close to like that. He's impressing me on the soccer side of it. I think you got to recruit him to my team at some point if ever we need some players. But no, I think that that series was very good. I mean, Panarin with the dagger in Game 7. I did predict the Rangers to win that series, which they ended up doing. And I mean, big part of that due to Shesterkin. That guy's also, I think, probably you could say he's probably the best goalie right now in the playoffs, and he's going to pave the way for the future to come. I think he's the new king of New York when it comes to that. I think he's going to fill up King Henrik's shoes pretty nicely over there, and it's going to be good to see what he could do against Carolina. I still like the Rangers in that series. I think that they have a good group. I think that they could really go far, and adding Kopp in before the trade deadline, obviously huge depth piece has really paid off to them, and you just got superstars in every position on the ice, offensively, defensively, obviously too. But Pittsburgh put up a really good fight. Also, one thing we have to mention, they didn't have Tristan Jarry until the last game of the season. And I mean, last game of the season, the last game of the series, I meant to say. But even in that Game 7, he played with a broken foot. He came back for the boys in Game 7 where everything was on the line with a broken foot. I mean, say what you want about Tristan Jarry, but that is unbelievable sportsmanship and like a teamworksmanship, or that wasn't a word, but you guys get what I mean. Good camaraderie. He laid it all on the line for his teammates, and that's what we want to see from any NHL player and for all the kids watching. And I think he could be a really good role model for all these guys. That's really a good sort of exemplification of what a good teammate is and what you want from every sort of organization. I think a lot of people could take example of what Jarry did, but they did make it very close against a stacked and healthy Rangers team, even with their backups, and even Louis Domingue coming into. I mean, he's another third string goalie making their appearance in the playoff series. I don't know when was the last time we've seen this with Carolina's third string and Penguins third string.
I think his name is.
Yeah, I think it's that. But I don't know when was the last time we see 2 third strings in the first round matchup. I think it must have been a while. But no, I mean, got to give credit to Pittsburgh. They put up a good fight, and it's a lot of question marks up in the air now for their future with Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, obviously. And they're not right now. There's no sort of benefit when it comes to negotiations. They can't seem to get a deal done right now, but we'll see. It's going to be an interesting offseason for them too. But yeah, what do you think about the series, Adrian?
Yeah, it was a good series. I mean, Pittsburgh was really great off the bat. They just played great, like dominated the first maybe 4 games or so. And game 5, I found the Trouba and Crosby hit kind of shifted the momentum towards the Rangers side. That was kind of like the turning point of the series. And obviously, you can see I'm wearing my Rangers hat. I wanted them to win. Pittsburgh.
You don't say.
State the obvious there, but yeah, no, it was a great series. Yeah, I saw like yesterday, like Marco, you were saying about Tristan Jarry like playing with the broken foot, and like that's unbelievable. Like I've had broken ankle and stuff before, but like I can't even imagine putting on skates and going to play hockey. Like it's pretty amazing, and again, great like leadership from him. It's like a model teammate, and it's very respectable. And he played a good game too with a broken foot. Like that must have been, I can't even imagine. That's just unreal. And again, wears his heart on his sleeve, and you love to see it. So I'm happy the Rangers were able to pull it off. Seeing Breadman get the OT winner, that short side Richter was pretty nice, and Shesterkin played a great series too. I got to give him a shout out. I think it was game 1 that went to 3 overtimes. He made like 78 saves or some crazy thing like that, and like I stayed up to watch the whole thing. It was just it was unreal. So it was a great series. That was probably one of the better ones in the first round. Usually when those two play each other, though, it's always a great show.
Exactly. That was one of the most entertaining series, in my opinion. I personally had the Rangers winning it, but Louis Domingue did what Jeff Zadkov pretty much did back in the day. If you guys remember, Jeff Zadkov as the third string for the Penguins when they won the Cup in 2016. Yeah. Louis Domingue was on fire. Like, he deserves a lot of credit. He played really well, but the Rangers also give them credit as well for fighting hard, coming back. And I'm going to say this again, Rangers, play Alexis Lafreniere more. We need to see more of him. He played really well from what we saw this season, but in this season and the series especially, he played really well, and I really liked what I saw out of him. But he needs more ice time. We need to see him more.
Yes. Thank you, Damen. I mean, I don't think he's being utilized at all to his full potential. I don't even think he's getting power play 2 time. And for a first overall pick in his second year, I mean, it's pretty shocking. You obviously, if he has the ice time, maybe if he were in a different sort of organization or environment, I'm sure he would be getting the ice time that he deserves. And obviously he's a great talent. Maybe he hasn't really shown what he can unlock so far, but I think I have a good feeling in this next series against Carolina that he'll have a chance to prove himself. And yes, if the Rangers give him more ice time, who knows what's in store for the kid.
Yeah, no, he definitely needs it's been up like since the beginning of his career. Like, I mean, they're just not putting him in the situations for him to develop, not giving him the ice time he should be getting as, your best young player, or maybe prospect, you want to say. Not really prospect because he's full-time on the team, but your former first overall pick. You gotta put him in more situations and give. I don't know where he is in the lineup, to be honest, but like
third line with Philip Hedl and sometimes either Julian Gauthier or Dryden Hunt.
That's not how you develop your first overall pick. Like that's just no. I agree. They got a free Laffy. Let's put hashtag free Laffy on Twitter.
Free Laffy.
Yeah, there you
free
go.
Laffy. Let's get it trended.
Yeah, let's get it trended. Yeah.
Yeah. Free Laffy, and then just imagine we actually get an offer sheet in the off season.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like the comment we have here. He'd definitely play a lot of minutes if he was with the Habs. Gordon, if you're watching, we got to make this happen. I mean, I think, like I said before, I don't think he's being fully utilized with the Rangers. I don't know how much of a leash they got with him. I think his contract is expiring next season. So, and I think right now you could kind of get a good sort of value for someone like Lafreniere, who was a first overall pick, because of the current spot he's been put in with the Rangers. He's not really producing like a first overall pick normally would. So I think you can get him at a bit of a discount. Obviously, the Rangers would not let someone like this go easily. But I mean, with Gordon being was in part with the Rangers organization, I don't know, maybe pull some strings, maybe we get something happen and buy low on a potential stud who would definitely get a lot of minutes with the Habs and would definitely become a star with us, I think, in the future, especially with the young sort of group and direction that we're taking with our, I guess you could call it a rebuild now or a retooling. I don't know. I still don't know what kind of word we should be using for what direction we're going in, but you guys get what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love this trade. I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Petrie for
Yeah,
Lafreniere. Oh, sign me up.
Unfortunately, the Rangers would never, unless I don't know. This wouldn't happen in a million years, unfortunately. But we could always hope for the best. You never know. Maybe if
You never know.
Gordon's a good enough, maybe Hughes, if they're a good enough salesman, maybe they could pitch Petrie's value a little bit more than he's worth. But we would see.
Yeah, I mean, I think Petrie has some value. Like, I know he had a bit of an off year, but just you're paying for the name, right? And he's become a pretty household name in the league. So I think, there's still value there for sure.
Yeah, Dan, you cut out there for a little bit.
Yeah.
You okay?
My mouse is so sensitive. Somehow I have a gaming mouse just kicked me out for some reason, so I just had to run right back in.
No
So,
worries.
Yeah, I would honestly love to see it happen, but I do think PD still does have value. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a first round pick for him or something. But I'm definitely not Lafreniere. That would be a dream of mine, but
not one
not
for one.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, not a one.
But
unfortunately.
Yeah. Anyways, boys, I think that we did a pretty good job wrapping up the first round so far. And now, obviously, we got round 2 starting. So I want to get your guys' predictions. We could go series by series, see what kind of winners you got and in how many games. So I guess we'll start in the West again. We'll go Colorado versus St. Louis. Who do you guys got?
Oh, I got the Avs in 6 this time around. The Blues have improved. And I think the Blues are built for more playoff hockey this time. And the Avs this year, they're still, of course, much more built for playoff hockey than they were last year. But I think both teams have improved drastically. And I expect this to be closer than it was last year. So I got to say this, Avs in 6.
I'm going to go Avs in 5. They just look unstoppable. Ooh. Yeah, it's bold, but they just look unstoppable. Like, I know in Nashville, they had like the injuries and stuff, but man, that team's scary. So I'm going Avs in 5.
I mean, they are a pretty stacked team. I mean, I think they're top 2 in the league, I would say. I mean, I do have the Avs winning like most people would. The amount of games, though, is where it starts to get tricky. I definitely think that the Blues will give them a harder time than Nashville did. I was very pleasantly surprised of what they did against Minnesota, like we were talking about earlier. I think they got a good group, and they'll give the Avs a little bit more of a test. And depending on how their goaltending is, obviously that plays a huge factor as well. But I got Avs in 6. I mean, I could very well see it going in 5 games and the Avs taking it, but I got the Avs over there in 6. Moving on to the other matchup in the West, so we have obviously the Battle of Alberta. I think one of the most highly anticipated and definitely going to be up there in the viewership for all of Canada and for all of the NHL. Yeah. Who you guys got for that one? I know that one's going to be probably closer in the series we just talked about for sure.
Flames in 6. That's all I'm saying. Connor McJesus is unstoppable, but the Flames are just so much deeper. And if they get the matchups right with home ice, I think they just easily got this. And I don't want to say easily, but they should have this for sure. And if they don't, I'm going to have some questions for the certain Flames and management, and they should have the series, to put it nicely.
Yeah, I'm going to go Flames in 6 as well. Obviously, like I've said about goaltending as being a concern for Edmonton at times. Again, Markstrom has just been phenomenal all year. I just don't see Mike Smith out goaltending Jacob Markstrom right now being a Vezina candidate. So Edmonton will put up a good fight. You obviously have their top 6. That's really good. But adding to what Damen said, just Calgary's just 1 through 4 lines forwards. They're just super deep, and even their defense is really outstanding as well. I am going to go with Flames in 6.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with the Flames in 7, though. I do think that
Ooh.
this will be a closer series than we think. I think in the Battle of Alberta, anything could happen. You know what I mean? I think Edmonton will put up a good fight, but at the end of the day, I think that Calgary will get the result. I mean, a big part of the reason why the series against Dallas went to 7 games was because of the brick wall himself, Jake Ottinger. So I wouldn't really put Mike Smith in that same sort of conversation. I mean, obviously on his day, Mike Smith is a hell of a goaltender, but he's also known to make his to make blunders too. I mean, we saw it in game 1 against the Kings, for example, when he gave the puck on a brutal turnover, which ended up costing them the game. So I think if Calgary could get a good forecheck going and they could really put pressure on him, because we know he likes to play the puck behind the net. If they force some errors out of him, you never know. But I do think that Edmonton will put up a fight. I'm kind of hoping, on a personal note, that Calgary pulls it off because I don't know if you guys remember, but I did make a bet on the trade deadline show that we did that if Mikko Koskinen wins the Stanley Cup, I will be shaving my head and I will be representing Bald Head Nation. So I would. So yeah, obviously, I would rather not do that.
Oh,
My girlfriend would rather not see that happen, obviously. So I'm sure she's pulling for the Flames as well. We don't want to give the Oilers more leverage when it comes to my head of hair over here. But no, I think it's gonna be a close series. I got Calgary in 7.
That's awesome.
Marco, I just trying to imagine, are you gonna go full Bruce Willis style or Jason Statham style?
Ideally neither, but if I had to pick one, then I think I would get some sort of buzz going. I don't know how I feel about the Mr. Clean treatment, but we'll hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Hopefully we don't have to be talking about this in the future. But
just do the skullet, Marco.
The skull head?
The skullet, like the Al Ifrit skullet. Just curl the back a little bit, shave the top, and
oh good. God, I'll pull the R9 special, the original Ronaldo with the bald everywhere and the little thing up here on the forehead. Something wild, but we'll see. Mikko Koskinen, if you're listening, I don't know. Maybe this is motivation for you to get that ring. But if you want to see me go bald. Anyways, moving on to the East now, we do have Tampa Bay going up against Florida, the Battle of Florida, I guess you could say. A little less exciting to say than the Battle of Alberta, but still a state battle nonetheless. 2 powerhouse teams, 2 offensive weapons, and just stacked all around, to offensively, defensively, goaltending wise. I think Toronto really gave Vasilevsky a bit of a test. He's not really the playoff Vazzy that we're used to seeing, but I do think in the series that he does sort of put himself in the conversation that he should be having his name surrounded by. I think that the Tampa Bay Lightning have this in, I'm going to give it 7 games as well. I think it's going to be a barn burn. I think it's going to go to the end, but could go to 7-6-2. But yeah, my predictions, Tampa in 7. What about you guys?
Ooh, I'm gonna go on this one. I'm gonna say the opposite of you. I'm gonna say Florida Panthers in 6 or 7. That's gonna be it's still gonna be a very close and entertaining series, but that's my prediction at the moment. And at the current moment, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning are down 1-0 due to a goal from Anthony Duclair, and there's 11:37 left in the second.
Nice. I'm gonna go Panthers in 6. I'm gonna like I said earlier about them playing from behind a lot. I mean, Tampa's a different team from last year. A lot of those core players they had from last year are gone. It is a different team. They just came off a hard 7-game series against the Leafs. The Leafs put up a good fight. So, I think the Panthers have a little bit more rest. So I'm going to go Panthers in 6.
Yeah, I think I was the wild card for that series there. I think I'm the only one who has Tampa going, but I don't know. I'm a believer in the back-to-back, and I think that Toronto series was a good test for them. And I think even though they're an exhausted group of players, I think that they'll build off that momentum and they'll get it done. I do have them in my bracket winning the cup, or at least going to the finals against Colorado. Now looking at the way that they just stampeded over Nashville, I don't know. Maybe it's leaning a little bit more in Colorado's favor, but you never know. When you're back-to-back champs already, I mean, that's obviously a force to be reckoned with. You can't take it lightly. So I don't know. I'm a believer in the in the Tampa back to back. But I wouldn't be surprised either if Florida gets it done too. I mean, they're a hell of a group, like we've been talking about, huge offensive weapon, and on their day, they could get it done. The only concern that I have, we talked about, is Bobrovsky. I think the inconsistency there will be the sort of outlier, the sort of difference maker in this series. But yeah, so I guess that's good for that. Moving on to the last matchup that we have for the second round, we have the Carolina Hurricanes against the New York Rangers. And I don't know, well, what do you guys have going for that series?
I have the Hurricanes in 7.
Ooh, that's bold. I'm going. I'm going Rangers in 7. I think it's going to be a long series. I think Shesterkin's just gonna just go ham and steal a series for them. I think Rangers in 7.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and D'Angelo is going to be, of course, a bit of a revenge tour.
Oh God, yeah, he is. That's for sure.
I honestly think that the Rangers are going to give it to D'Angelo. I think that I don't know. I just think that they're a better team overall. I think that they're really building off that momentum after the Game 7 against the Pens, which obviously probably tired them out. But Carolina too, they went to 7 against Boston. I think the difference will kind of be the goaltending this series and Anderson's health, what that's going to look like, how well Antti Raanta could kind of fill in his shoes. But I don't know. I think if the Rangers stay healthy, if they keep on producing like they've been all season, I think they're one of the better teams in the league. I have the Rangers in 6. So, yeah, that's my prediction for that. I know that we have, now that we're out of the way with our second round predictions, we'll see that unravel in the next couple of weeks. And I'm sure we'll be back again for another episode for the third round of the playoffs too, to give our predictions and a recap of the second round. But up until now, we get into some Habs news because we do have a bit to break down, and this is obviously a Habs Tonight channel. At the end of the day, we gotta mention the boys. This is what our channel is surrounded itself by. So I don't know, Adrian, Damen, one of you want to start us off with what we got?
I'll start off with the news today that it was very positive to hear that Carey Price is one of the 3 finalists for the Bill Masterton Trophy, along with Kevin Hayes and Zdeno Chara. It's definitely some very good news, and I want to know your opinions on it. And do you guys think Carey Price will have a good chance at winning the trophy?
I think he will. I know Kevin Hayes has a really great story with overcoming a lot, with the passing of his brother Jimmy, and that kind of took the hockey world, and everyone grieved for that one. And also Carey Price's story of battling, obviously he went to substance abuse from what I think I remember hearing, and everything he went through rehabbing from knee injuries and this past year, and everything he's been through is a huge story. I think he could get it. I know the hockey world's been behind him and very supportive, and him being one of my and I guess you guys can say too, favorite athletes, players in the league.
Yeah.
It's just really sad to see him go through everything that he has. Yeah, so I think he could get it, and I really hope he does. It's just really, really emotional thinking about it right now, but I think he could get it. It's sad to see him go through all that, and I don't know what else to say. Overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more of a sad note to start the Habs news off of, but all these guys are nominated for the Bill Masterton for a reason. We got into it with Kevin Hayes, why he's nominated. Even Zdeno Chara, he's had a hell of a career. He's been here a long, long time, and to keep on doing what he's doing at his age is also remarkable. And obviously, Carey Price, we talked about it enough. He's an icon for the Habs, a staple piece. Obviously, he is the heartbeat of our organization, and obviously as Habs fans alike, we're all rooting for him to pull through with the Bill Masterton, and I think he's fully warranted of getting the trophy. I think that he deserves it, but I think the same could be said about any one of the other candidates. When it comes to this trophy, at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters who wins because they're all nominated, like I said, for very good reason. And I think just the fact that the league has this trophy is a very big W on their part.
Agreed. Well said, guys. And also, one thing I want to mention also is, as I'm sure we know, Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes are making a lot of more modern day hockey moves, and they're making moves so much for the better. And this move just made me happy. The Habs hire Chris Boucher as the director of hockey analytics specialist. For the first time, anyone in the organization has had that role. As I'm sure we know, when Gorton got here, we didn't have very much infrastructure to help develop, or we could say spy on other teams, which is of course with analytics and stats. And now Chris Boucher is going to be running that operation, and hopefully more people will come along. But I want to know, how do you guys feel that we're finally going to be have someone that's going to be taking care of the analytic and number side of the game?
Ooh, definitely a long time coming, because I know advanced stats and analytics are a huge part of the game now. And again, a lot of the teams that have won cups over the years have, turned to analytics to build teams, right? So I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. I know the Bruins, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the LA Kings, they all relied heavily on advanced stats even 10 years ago in the 2010s, right? And I bet a bunch of other teams do as well. It's definitely an important step to take, and it does work because they've built teams through advanced stats, and it's great to see. It's definitely like Damen said, just some modern hockey thinking. Finally, it's just a breath of fresh air for this organization, because they seem like for years just kind of stuck in the old school ways. So it's good to see some new things and kind of outside of the box thinking from this organization. It's a breath of fresh air.
Definitely. And I think, just to clear the water, in case anybody was confused, this isn't the same Chris Boucher from the Toronto Raptors. This is someone completely different. This guy was a scout for the San Jose Sharks, so obviously he's got some intel when it comes to selecting talent, which is obviously a great asset to have in any organization. But I think you guys hit it right on the nail when you guys were talking about how important analytics are, especially in today's modern day game. And I just love this move for the Habs too. I think it's also been a very long time coming, and there's been so many teams, like you mentioned, Adrian, that have been just changed by analytics. And I don't think we can say enough of how important it is in today's NHL. And I just think that this whole media sort of shift and all this kind of like clean sweep and new hiring from the bottom up for the organization is just transforming it for a new era, which is going to be filled with talent, filled with promise, and just all headed towards a new direction for the future of the league, all for the better. So obviously this hire, another W with the many that the Habs have made in this very eventful year, especially on the management side of things. I'm very excited to see with Chris Boucher, not the Toronto Raptors Chris Boucher, could bring to the team going forward. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. Their next bit of Habs news comes from 32 Thoughts podcast. Jeff Merrick, he proposed a very interesting trade, I'll say for the least. Very interesting, but for me, it might ruin my draft reaction video forever.
If it happens.
If it happens, of course. There's speculation about Jeff Merrick proposing the third overall pick from Arizona and their first round pick next year, traded for our first overall pick there this year. I want to know if you guys would be open to the idea of even doing that, or what you guys just overall thoughts of it is.
Oh, it's very bold. That's all I'm gonna say. That's a bold thought. But we talked about it before we hopped on the stream here, and I took some time to kind of think about it in between. I mean, we need help down the middle. And Shane Wright's obviously a can't miss prospect. And I know it gives us a chance to go for Connor Bedard next year with that trade. But at the same time, though, Arizona can get second overall, and then that kind of shifts things, right? So I'd rather just play it. I know maybe people may not agree with this. Some do, some don't. Everyone's gonna have a different opinion, but I just maybe stay put at first and grab Shane Wright if that's the Habs' plans, and go from there.
I agree. I see Shane Wright is actually the most safe prospect in this draft, because he's hung around at their number one spot for the longest time, because it's pretty much been a bouncer draft from 2 and on for a while. We thought Lambert and Savard had just been bouncing around for a lot of it with the prospects.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think that Shane Wright is a lock. He's a very safe pick. And if you were to go a direction to try to keep him, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. He has proven why he's worthy of the first overall spot. And this guy's just so confident and reliable in what he does on the ice. And obviously, he makes remarkable plays look so nonchalant just because of how certain he is when he plays and just how mature he is too, because he also has a leadership factor, being the captain in the Frontenac and being captain of Canada's World Juniors team at one point, which is also a very underrated topic to get into. So obviously a lot of positive with Shane Wright, and any organization be willing to have him, hopefully us. But I think it definitely is a spicy topic when you start talking about trading the first overall pick. And it could be warranted too, because you look at next year's draft with Bedard and Michkov. I mean, first of all, Bedard's a generational talent, probably the next up and coming McDavid, perhaps. Some might say this kid is absolutely remarkable, and I don't think you can pass up on a chance to even come close to nabbing him. And I mean, you look at Arizona; they're most likely going to stink it up next year too, and have a top 3, maybe even top 5 pick. So obviously there is some promise there. And you even look at this year's draft. I mean, you also have Logan Cooley and Slavkovsky, who are some very good prospects who could bring a lot of talent to the teams if they're put into the right spots, which also sort of depends on what the score of what scouting departments, what they see in these guys and what they think they could bring to their team. Because obviously Logan Cooley, phenomenal player, huge offensive talent, very flashy. You know, he's there to make your jaw drop. He's that type of player. And Slavkovsky, obviously, a very clinical finisher. Anybody would be happy to have these talents on their team. So if you're willing to downgrade from Shane Wright to have a shot at Bedard potentially next year, I mean, you look at the teams who have a shot at him. Arizona, they're up there. So if anyone's going to propose this trade, or if you're going to consider it at least, it's definitely going to be coming from Arizona. And I mean, some teams would take this sort of trade instantly. So you'd kind of have to think, why would Arizona want to even do that? Like, why would they want to put all their eggs in the Shane Wright basket when they have a top 3 pick next year and they have a shot at Bedard next year? Well, I mean, we know the situation with the Coyotes. They're going to be playing at a college rink next season, as much of a joke that is. And they're not even going to be selling out 5,000 seats. I mean, I was at the Laval Rocket playoff game last week, and it was like 21,000 seats, fully sold out, 2 nights in 3 days. And I mean, that's an AHL team, and they're putting an NHL team to shame right now. So obviously, looking from a business side of it, you need to fill the seats too if you're the Arizona Coyotes. And what better way to do that than with the first overall pick, selecting him and then having him play on the team, and then you get the fans starting to come. They want to see the first overall pick. And I think that Arizona are kind of on the tight leash when it comes to their franchise life. And if you're going to make something happen, if you're going to generate excitement, there's sort of a certain urgency when it comes to it. So if you're the Arizona Coyotes, I mean, yes, it's a risky move, but if you're that desperate to fill up seats and to generate revenue, it's something you might consider. You might consider losing your possibilities next year to get the guaranteed first overall pick this year and fill your seats for this upcoming season. So definitely an interesting topic. This isn't anything obviously that's gone very far. This is just a proposal that Jeff Merrick made on 32 Thoughts podcast, but I mean, he is a credible source. I mean, it's something that could happen, and it's been obviously, we've been hearing a lot of conversation about it recently. There's a bunch of different takes, but it would definitely be an interesting one if this were to come to reality. And I think we went through it pretty deeply there. I think there could be benefits to both sides of it.
For sure, yeah. But honestly, I think the safest thing to do, I would just keep the first overall. But it's definitely a good thing to think about for sure, going for the Coyotes if you're in that organization.
Mm-hmm. Not very straightforward. You got to do what you got to do to stay alive, you know. So it's something they might consider, but obviously, I don't think any of us would be sad to have Shane Wright on the team. I mean, this guy's going to change our organization in the future if we were to select him. So yeah, definitely an interesting topic, but there's no wrong way to go, I think, in either scenario if you're the Montreal Canadiens, which is a good thing, at least, to even think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So for our next piece of Habs news, we're gonna go and speculate a little bit about maybe some off-season predictions, whether it could be trades, captaincy, and some certain prospects that we'd like to see more out of. And first thing I'm gonna hit you guys with is, who are some players from the current roster you expect to be traded?
Ooh.
Throwing you guys the heat ball right away.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's throw a curveball right there. Personally, though, I see Jeff Petrie on his way out. I know he asked for a trade a few months ago to be closer to his family. They went back to Michigan. And I think for the direction that the organization is going into, I think maybe it's best for both parties. So I could see maybe Jeff Petrie being traded. I think Brendan Gallagher is going to be the next captain. I know it's a bold pick, but I think he's put in his time and shows tremendous leadership on and off the ice. And this is going to be bold. So, like I said, trade Petrie. And I think the Habs are going to replace him with Crystal Tang and as a free agent.
Ooh. I mean, that's
Marco,
definitely a possibility.
I have to cut you off for a second.
Oh.
Something just happened in our Habs Tonight group chat, and Nick sent us something. This is from a report from a verified source for the Win. As we were talking about the Arizona Coyotes, a report just came in. The Coyotes won't be able to use their logo at center ice while they're in their new home arena at ASU.
What a joke. Oh my God.
That's like
I don't want to cut you off there, but I had to.
No, that's okay.
No, I mean,
that's awesome.
We were just talking about it. Oh my God. I mean, now they got to fill seats more than ever. They got to fill seats more than ever now. Oh my God. Imagine they still have the ASU logo center ice, like the NHL game. If you're a player on that team, how do you feel? You know, like, especially if you're like a rookie or a young player making the jump from the development stages to the pros, you don't really feel like a pro at that point. So, I mean, it sucks to be an Arizona Coyotes player, I guess. That organization is going to have a handful to deal with. But yeah, I think we're talking about the trade. So I definitely think that Petrie's family situation will play a big part of him staying. Obviously, he would like to stay with the team. He loves it in Montreal, but obviously family situations get difficult. You need to do what you got to do with the family. And obviously Canada, unfortunately, is not a very good spot for them. So that's why I know we even had John Woo on the show in the past, and he had said that if Jeff Petrie were to get traded, which he thinks most likely will happen, it will be to an American team because of the whole family situation. So I don't know if the Habs could get something done with Petrie, good, but if not, you could get good value from him. But I personally think that he would get traded to the Stars. I mean, I know there's a lot of question marks too with Klingberg, so maybe he could be a replacement or a sort of filler for him. But yeah, apart from that, maybe Hoffman, they might be trading. I don't know. I feel like we have a lot of offensive depth coming in our system, like with the prospects that we have. I know we did a whole talk about Josh Roy and Kinney and all those guys. I mean, we're going to have a lot to deal with in the future. I mean, you could argue whether or not Hoffman's going to make the cut in the future, but yeah, if I had to pick two guys to be traded, I think it'd be those two. And for captain, I think that Gallagher deserves it too. I agree with you there, Adrian. I think it'll depend, though, what kind of direction the team wants to take. If they're kind of embracing the young rebuild, then maybe they might go with a younger guy like Nick Suzuki. But I think the best sort of voice and the best player who exemplifies the heartbeat of the team, along with Carey Price, if they want to give him the C, I mean, all the better. The Canucks did that a little long ago. I would love to see that happen again. But I think the next player, apart from Price, that really exemplifies that and who wears our heart on their sleeve every single game. And when you think of the Montreal Canadiens, I mean, I think Brendan Gallagher is always the guy who comes to mind, and he's someone who deserves it too. I definitely think it's between those two guys. I think I'd be a little surprised if I see another candidate get selected other than Suzuki and Gallagher. But yeah, I think it's between those two, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to this is definitely a very this is a subject that can change literally from minute to minute for me. So here's what I'm going to say for captain. I say it's one of the two 50-50 split between Suzuki and Gallagher, who actually get to see, but I still believe both of them will be leaders in the locker room for sure. And then my expectation for players to be traded, Petrie is at number one for sure, in my opinion. As we do know, of course, his wife has been the nicest way I feel I could put it is that she hasn't been happy with like all the COVID protocols here in Canada, and from what I've heard, and also I think that Petrie's also getting older, and we of course know what John Lou said about him potentially going to the U.S. for an American team, and I think Dallas makes the fit perfect because of course losing Klingberg and also I think Dallas might be a nice location for Petry's family, and also another reason why is because Dallas has prospects that we would like. For example, I've been begging this for years. I want Logan Stankoven in a Habs uniform in the future. So I wouldn't even mind a Petry for Stankoven and another picker prospect or something. But I really hope we can get to see a situation that works out for both parties. And also, as Kent Hughes has said, he wants more cap flexibility. Well, Petry at the moment he's making $6 million to $6.2 million, and so I think, and it has 4 more years left on that deal. After the season he has 3 years left in this deal, but 4 years including this one, which is already finished. So if that deal is to be done, I think that will give us a lot more cap space and much more flexibility that Kent Hughes wants. And someone else who I also expect to be traded is Mike Hoffman. I'm not sure where he would go because I'm not sure there's really a demand for him around the league unless the teams know how to use him. Because Mike Hoffman is a player who can shoot the puck very well, and he can skate really well. But when it comes to the defensive end of the game, he doesn't back check well enough at an NHL level, to put it nicely. So. Yeah. I just don't know what we would get for Hoffman, but I think if we can clear out the $4.5 million from Hoffman and not have to retain any, that gives Kent Hughes the cap flexibility he wants and needs. And it would be nice to unload those contracts in a flat cap era, or even depending on how long this rebuild, retool, whatever R word we want to use, or reset. That would be very nice to have that cap space cleared out, so we won't have to really worry much. But also, I will say this: I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Byron gets traded next year at the deadline, because going in next season, Paul Byron's in the last year of his deal, and Paul Byron has shown that he's an effective playoff player, and he's very good defensively. I think a lot of teams could use him on their fourth line, and we do know, as much as I like Paul Byron, he loves it here. But if the situation comes around where we might get interest from other teams around the league, I wouldn't be opposed to trading him.
Yeah, I think that Byron could be a good shout. I think that you have a good point of him being a proven sort of playoff depth piece that a contender potentially might be interested in. Now, obviously, when it comes to speedy guys in the NHL, Paul Byron, he's up there too. When he gets on his horse, it's hard to catch him. So I think that Byron could bring a lot of upside to some teams. And next year come deadline, Damen, I think you hit it on the head there. I think that we could see him go to. I think it's pretty probable, actually. And want to get your guys' thoughts on this comment too, because obviously Drouin too hasn't really, I guess, lived up to the hype that he did when we traded for him, with the player that he was. But he has shown some promise this year, more than I guess we kind of expected. But there's a lot of uncertainty regardless when it comes to Jonathan Drouin. So I want to get you guys' quick thoughts on what you guys think the future looks like for good Johnny boy there.
I don't know what the future looks like, but this is what I will say. Jonathan Drouin has not given up on us, and we do know around the time when he took his mental health leave of absence from the team, Bergevin asked him in the offseason if he wanted to be traded, and he said he wants to stay at Montreal Canadiens, and I really respect that he's not giving up on us and wants to stay here, and he's shown such loyalty to the city. He does a lot for the hospital, and he's not giving up on us, and I'm not going to give up on him. I still believe he has that raw skill, but every season he's been here in Montreal, there's always been injuries affecting his season, and also I would love to see him under not just a full healthy season. That would be in itself a beautiful thing, but I'd love to see him under a full season of healthy with Marty St. Louis, because we only saw 2 games of it. Drouin played really well, created a lot of chances, but didn't get any points in the score sheet. But if we get to see Jonathan Drouin play really well for us, and he wants to stay here, I would actually like to keep him personally, because I'm a big fan of his. And if he plays well and he's not in the future of the plans of Gorton and Hughes, I do think we could get some good value from him on a team that needs help scoring, because Drouin, in my opinion, is a good middle. I guess we could say middle 6 or top 9 scorer. He can play wherever you need him to. And if he can score a lot, I definitely think we could get a late first out of it, like with his current value, in my opinion, being that he's fully healthy. But I think if it's a full year under Marty St. Louis and he just goes off and he shows that he's very productive, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a first and plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Damen on that too. I want to see Drouin stay on this team, and maybe hopefully he'd be the future, like part of the future of the team. It's yet to be seen because things change with the organization, and again next year a lot can change. But yeah, he could definitely fetch like a good value at next year's deadline, along with some other pieces on the team. I like the point that Damen said too about how he didn't give up on the city, and Bergevin asked him for if he wanted a trade, and he said, "I want to be here," and his heart's in Montreal. Again, I haven't given up on him too since the trade. I knew the stakes were high for him because they gave up a top prospect for him. So, but yeah, I like to see him stay. But if they can, if they can get a good return for him with the situation the team's in now for next year's deadline, then you kind of can't say no to that for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot up in the air when it comes to him. Obviously, I'd like to see him stay with the Habs too. I mean, he has been unlucky in recent years, and part of injury, I know, his mental health leave of absence too didn't really help his case when it came to really unlocking his potential, like he showed with the Mooseheads and even with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I do think that he does have potential, and it's really good that he does want to stay a Montreal Canadian, because we saw when Ken Hughes was initially hired for GM that he wants to surround the team around guys who want to rep the CH and who want to wear the Habs jersey, who really exemplify that sort of camaraderie and just team passion, people who want to be Montreal Canadiens. And I think Jonathan Drouin is definitely one of them. So would like to see I would like to see him stick around, obviously, but I do think that you could fetch some good value for him if he sees his potential rise and his output rise. I meant to say, and I think under a full season of Martin St. Louis, maybe we could see a boost in that. I know we've been going on a pretty long time, boys. I think it's been a really good show so far. We do have one more Habs news topic to go into though, and that is Josh Anderson and Armia showing a lot of promise in the World Championships. And obviously, with no Habs hockey going on in the summer, no playoffs for us this year, I mean, it's good to see at least that we have some Montreal Canadiens players showing themselves on the big stage. And I mean, Josh Anderson, he was named alternate captain for Canada's team, and he's looked real good. He won player of the game just recently. And Armia too, he's shown a lot of good promise. So obviously, very good to see from both of these guys. I think I want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've been trying to watch the Worlds when I could, but I was actually at a convention in London, so I didn't get much time to sit in front of my TV and watch the games. But I've really liked what I've seen out of Josh Anderson so far, and he's played a really good power horse role for Canada, along with on line with Adam Lowry and Cole Sillinger. I was personally a little surprised to see those two on the line together, because Adam Lowry is more of a really good bottom six center, and I really like Adam Lowry, and Cole Sillinger is going to have a bright future in the NHL one day. But I think that's an interesting line in itself. But Josh Anderson shows his versatility. He can even play in a shutdown role, and also he's creating a lot for Canada, as I'm sure we expect. But Armia, I've really liked what I've seen out of him for Finland, and he's been really good on the power play for them. And I got to watch some of the game against the US, and he's driving the play most of the time, and most of the play is sort of driven around him, and he creates so much for Finland. And he may not quarterback the power play, but a lot of the players on the power play are trying to get the puck to him, and he's working on moving the puck around fluidly and quickly. And by the way, Armia is now a new dad, and that's why he had to take the leave of absence.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations on being a new dad, Yoel Armia. But it's been really fun to see him play at the World Championships, and hopefully he can bring what he's doing at the World Championships to the Habs next season.
Yeah, I was actually able to catch the first game on Friday against Canada, Germany. So yeah, I was seeing Josh Anderson play. He looks good out there. He like Marco said, he got player of the game, the other day, and alternate captains. So it's good to see. And Yoel Armia, I didn't get a chance to see Finland, but I've heard he's been playing good. They've been representing our team and their countries really well. It's good to see, even though we didn't make the playoffs, it's good to see our players, representing our franchise very positively.
Definitely. And I think on that good note, I think that unless you guys had some other thoughts, I think maybe we could end the show. We had a very good one. A lot of a lot of topics that we went into. Obviously, there's a lot of hockey that's been going on, and I think that we did a good job covering all that. Thank you guys for everybody watching. Your support means the world to us. If you guys haven't, hit that subscribe button, give us a big like, and yes, like Damon's pointing at, get some of your merch too if you want to come support the channel. These are obviously as
can't see my shirt, but oh, there it is.
No way. We
there
see
we go.
We see
all
Adrian.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, they're as
good.
as they come, and it's a great way to support the channel. And obviously, I mean, I'm always wearing this hoodie, as you guys could see, and can't wait to get me some more of that. But yeah, on that note, anything else you boys want to add before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I mean, just let's keep the Habs activity going and have a good off season. It's going to be really busy, so I'm pretty stoked for the draft coming up, and yeah, it's going to be some good times to be a Habs fan very soon.
And don't forget, guys, hit that like button.
Yeah, that's right.
Indeed. Yeah. Anyways, on that note, we'll end the show. Thanks to everybody for tuning in with us. We know it's a little bit long one, more than what we're used to, but yeah, appreciate you guys sticking around and keep awesome. Yeah, for sure, and keep your eyes peeled because we're gonna have some content coming forward. Obviously, we're having our list for the next round of the playoffs, and hopefully we're gonna have some of us go to their draft. We'll try to do a fun video for you guys over there, and obviously any breaking news with the Habs that comes, will be sure to be the first to break that to you guys and to give you guys some good content. So yep, on that note, we'll end the show. Thank you guys for sticking around. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and cop some of your merch if you haven't already. And yeah, take care, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Take it easy. Cheers.